It's time for Who Watch, Time and Relative Blackness in Space.
Have the box.
Hey everyone, it's Bayana, Connie, and Robin coming to you live from the Time Vortex.
Today we are talking about all the episodes you can skip in your rewatch of Doctor Who.
And also like the news, because there's like fun news and that's why we're back, because I mean, yes, it's great. I'm so happy that 13th Doctor is a woman, but also Tarbis specifically is back because there's a new Black companion. So let's talk about that for a second before we get into the rest of our skip list. There's blackness back in the TARDIS, guys.
Turn up.
There's blackness, but there is also still that one white dude.
I know, and it's important to talk about because it seems like it's like, okay, look, a woman, yay, and then all the fanboys are like, oh, why does it have to be a woman? Why can't it just be based on blah, 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 blah? But then, and it's like, oh, snap, we have a South Asian person in the TARDIS and another Black character, and then it's just this random white dude, and it's just like Nardole all over again, where it's like, look, you could have been, like, extra great, and now you're just like, okay. Like, it's just like, I don't know. I guess they're just trying to appeal to their main white boy fan base, but can he get eaten in, like, episode 2 or something?
He's just not necessary.
There's no reason
the thing, too, is, like, because of the way that Doctor Who is set up, is, like, there are going to be, like, characters that come in who are white dudes, right? And mostly the villains or whatever. But they're going to run into white dude characters. We don't need one on the TARDIS to have, like, white dude representation. Like, it's just not necessary.
And we don't really need any more white dude representation, period. But, like, like, I know I don't need that anymore. Yes. I think I got my fill. And I don't know. I just feel like well, for one, I think one of the reasons that we didn't do, like, a episode earlier, like, when the new Doctor was announced, I think a lot of us were kind of like, or at least I was, very much like, it's cool, it's great, you know, it's cool, but we've actually talked about this before, like, not really wanting the Doctor to be a woman unless it was a woman of color, because otherwise it's not really diversity, right? Like, it's just like, oh, great, now.
It's like the annoying order thing.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't, it's always white dudes, white women, and then the rest of us. And it's gotten to a point where it's like, we know the formula now.
Yeah, and I'm over the formula.
I'm over the formula.
Jodie's outfit looks fantastic. She looked great, but I'm just over the formula, and I'm still going to watch it. But it's just like, we knew that this was going to happen, and it was just like, why does it have to be in that very specific order? Like, they could have chosen a South Asian woman of color to be the 13th Doctor.
Yes.
Like, that would have been cool. So it's not like us on this podcast being 3 Black women saying that she should have been a Black woman, but it's just like, she could have been any woman of color, because England, we know you colonize, like, the entire world, so you have every single pocket of person from the globe in your country, because you colonize the entire world. Anyway.
I will say, though, I want to do my Robin's unpopular opinion, but, like, I was totally fine with the Doctor always being a man.
Agreed, same, actually.
And I just wanted a person of color, specifically a South Asian man, specifically Raza Jaffrey. And this is not to take away from Jodie Whittaker's talent, because I think she's incredibly talented. It's not to take away from, like, representation of women, representation of white women, because there are issues there, but there are more issues and more representation, especially on the Asian and South Asian side of the equation on television. It's just, yeah. I would have been super, super excited to see a South Asian doctor. But I also have an issue with the, like, okay, now we have a female doctor, so we have to have a male companion. Like,
yep. Two male companions.
Right.
And that's something that we should be clear about, is that we don't know the roles of most of these characters, so we don't know how much of a role the white character is going to play.
I mean,
we knew about Nardole. We kind of sensed Nardole was there for exactly the reason that he was there. But it is new leadership, new management. We shall see. But just to be fair, we don't know how these characters are going to play out, but I really hope that the girl is like the lead companion and not second to either of the guys.
My hope is that that the woman is the lead companion, that homeboy is...
We'll learn their names at some point, guys. Sorry, listeners.
Yeah,
We kind of just threw this like news segment in last minute to be like, oh, right, we should actually talk about the stuff that's happened and not just like our skip list thoughts.
Yeah, it'd be cool if like he was on every once in a while, but like still, had his own life, and then for the white dude to just like never get on the TARDIS ever. I think that
never.
He can be in the like present time Earth shenanigans, but when they go back in time, they go, he can be Harriet Jones. He could be even like Mickey before Mickey got on the TARDIS,
right?
Because he didn't, you know what I mean. He was just there when he was useful when they were on Earth.
Not happening, y'all.
And
he's in the promo photos as a companion. He's gonna be on the TARDIS.
I'm not looking forward to that. I just, what's the point? Why?
Or he dies early and with a bullet in the chest like they did to my girl Bill. Ain't nobody died worse than Bill. Oh, I'm upset.
And she died like more than once.
Y'all.
More than once.
Guys, like... I think I blocked, so ever since, after we like talked about it, I think I blocked it out of my mind. And then every once in a while it comes back and it's like, wow, they really did Bill like that.
And then she's coming back for Christmas.
It came back for me because of the skip list, because I was like, like that scene makes it so I will never watch that episode again. Like, it was traumatic.
Right. And then the thought of her coming back for Christmas, I'm like, yay, more pro Mackie, but also how are you going to explain anything that happens to her character? They're not gonna actually have time to give her a better like send off because it's like the focus of the episode is gonna be Capaldi leaving and the like getting to see one. So like she's not gonna actually have time to get a good amount of like, hey, this was Bill, this is how we appreciate her. Like, I just don't see it happening because it's only a 40 minute episode. So it's just like, I'm glad she's back and we get to see her at Christmas, but also, is her end gonna be any better?
Doubtful. Guys, we're so positive. We're so optimistic.
I really was thinking.
You remember when we started this podcast and we were really happy?
Even when we were really happy, though, we were like,
it could go bad, and then it went bad.
Wasn't hopefully optimistic like our theme song for a second?
Absolutely.
It was the motto of TARDIS. Like,
it really
hopefully
was.
Optimistic, but realistically, don't trust them.
I mean, a report just said that like still very few networks have black people of color and people of color writing their shows, and it's a thing that I've been thinking about in that we can tell. And so I think Doctor Who is one of those shows where it's just like, we can tell that you don't have many of us in your room. You maybe have one or two, and then their rooms work differently in the UK. So like the creative voices coming to the forefront isn't as collaborative, as far as I know, as the American system. So it's just like, it's not like they're breaking this episode in a room full of people and, the black writer's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this, or maybe you should, blah, 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 blah. Like in an American, like, writer's room might work. As far as I know, they write each of their episodes separately. So I don't know. We can tell, and we will be able to tell in the coming season how things are gonna go. So, anyway, let's move on to slightly happier Well, I guess. Depends on how you feel about 13's outfit. Do we have any thoughts on her, what I've been calling, what was I calling it? Something IKEA. Because it just feels very IKEA to me, but maybe that's because I was at IKEA a couple weeks ago. So, yes, her color scheme seems very IKEA. The blue, the kind of like the 3 stripes on her shirt, and her yellow suspenders. And then I just like the color, the shades of the colors felt very IKEA to me. But I also like the shade of her pants and that they're TARDIS blue. I think people didn't like that, but I dig it.
I like her pants.
I was already like, okay, I'm cosplaying.
Yeah,
actually, like, let me wait and see if I actually like her, but I kind of want to cosplay. Right. Like, it looks like a fun outfit.
And I really think that the jacket is the thing, right? Like, I think everyone was focused on the other stuff that she had on under it, but she's not going to wear the same outfit every episode. You know what I mean? Like, they were very similar. Well, Matt Smith pretty much wore the same one until like halfway through season 6. He didn't change his clothes. That's true. But like David Tennant had at least 3 suits on the rotation, and 9 wore a different T-shirt sometimes, and
he
and 12
just wore a yellow jacket. I mean, his leather jacket and
leather jacket over like regular clothes.
Yeah,
right. And then 12 like really just wore the jacket. Like at first they tried to make them all like suited up or whatever, but he would wear different stuff under the jacket.
Yeah.
So I think like the jacket.
And by the way, Matt
really
Smith changed his shirt. It was like white or gray or like a beige, white, gray, beige, white, gray, beige. Sure. I'm just saying.
But the bow tie didn't really change very often. And
not at all.
The bow tie was blue if it was the future, or red if it was the past. Like, the color of the bow tie determined if it was past or future, which I think is just like a cool thing that I hope that Jodie gets to some part of her outfit changes.
With the suspenders.
Y'all are some nerds. But what I'm saying is, I think the jacket is the statement like thing, and like the other stuff may or may not change to whatever. Like she'll probably still wear the suspenders, which I actually like that she has suspenders because it's also kind of a nod to 11 a little bit. So,
and I love wearing suspenders, and so yes, cosplay. Yes. I have a pair of blue and red suspenders that my great uncle gave me that I only wear to cosplay as 11. And people are like, "You need red suspenders," and I'm like, "F you. These suspenders have meaning." And I love wearing suspenders.
Yeah.
I went through a whole phase where I would wear my suspenders, and I would wear like one up, or I'd wear them down, hanging just right. Like, it was a whole thing. I love it. I'm ready.
Like she wears, where the loop is really big.
Yeah.
That might help with like body type, because she's very she's more androgynous than I am. So suspenders are a thing that I wish I could wear more of, but it's difficult.
Connie's saying she got curves, y'all.
So it's a little more difficult, but I think if I found ones like the one she's wearing, it might be a little better.
I would have to just put my suspenders on the outside of my boobs. They can't sit on the, they just gotta go the out.
Yeah.
And we just gotta do what we do, you know?
Yeah.
It work. As Tim Gunn would say.
And if I do, because I don't know where I'm going to find a shirt that looks like that, but if I do cosplay as her, I would wear a skirt, but I'm glad that she is not wearing a skirt. I'm glad that she's wearing pants. Because it's just like, well, she got to wear a skirt for? Like...
Right.
One episode she could, like, wear a skirt instead. Right. Also, I just have been looking for some pants like that, and so figure that out.
Guys, you act like they are not already mass-producing cosplay pants for this specific reason. They will be on Think Geek before the season premiere.
As they got in the plus-size section, it's a situation.
Torrid got you? Hot Topic online? They are pressing. Right. I'm sure right now there is a factory in China
behind on their billware.
Overtime.
Well, then Torrid is behind on their billware, because I ain't seen them have nothing that looked like one thing that she wore. So
because that's Bill. They don't. But like, if it's a doctor,
I know, like the stupid Funkos. I love Funkos, but they're rude because it's not just Bill that they don't have. They have very few of the lady companions, And they're like, oh, we're about to have 13, but I'm like, okay, but what about the companions? Like, how am I supposed to have a Funko set, when
they don't do I'm saying historically, this isn't a build thing. They like,
I know. That's
if
what
it's
I'm
a
saying.
doctor, they're on their ish.
That's what I'm saying is that they should. They're running
All
behind
right.
on the companions, everybody, and they need to step up their companion game because that's
especially because I would cosplay Clara for the dresses alone.
Oh yeah, like her outfits though, like she's on point.
Right,
like the tights with
her
the dress.
outfits were adorable,
and then like the
dress with the collar, right, and the jacket.
It's like these are all the things that I would wear.
Right.
It's all perfect.
Okay, so should we get into the skip list?
We should get into the skip list, absolutely. That's what I was just about to say. Yeah, so I guess we will sort of go over episodes in somewhat of a particular order, but we'll just go over episodes that we always skip. There are some definite fandom-wide episodes on this list. I guess Bayana will go, I'll go, and then Robin will go, but then if we won't double, we'll just all talk about the episode and why we hate it.
Yeah, or Correct. If we don't skip it as well.
Correct.
I will also say that if you've never watched Doctor Who before, maybe don't listen to this. Also, you have to watch all the episodes at least one time. I had just finished watching Doctor Who up until I guess season 7 was when that was the last episode, their last season that was out when I was watching it. And I got my sister into it, but I didn't tell her. And I would watch a couple episodes with her, which I think is why I've seen some of them more than twice or whatever. But I would watch a couple episodes with her, and then on the ones that I wanted to skip, I would just slyly slide out. I'd be like, "Oh, let me go do this thing real quick," but not tell her about it. So one of those,
why?
I'm just slide out real quick, and one of those episodes. Was Love and Monsters, which is what, as we call here, the episode that must not be named. I definitely tend to, when she was, I was watching with her, whatever the episode is before that, I was like, cool, whatever, I'll watch that. And then it was coming on, and I was like, I'm going to just leave the room and not do this to myself. I also recently, I was doing a rewatch this year, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to skip anything. For some reason, I was just gonna watch them all. I got 5 minutes into Love and Monsters and was like, no, I don't have to do this to myself.
Love yourself.
Yeah, I was like, no one's making me, no one has a gun to my head. I can just go ahead and skip it because it's terrible. So this episode actually almost ruined Blink for me.
Wow.
And Blink is one of my favorites, but the reason is because it's Dr. Light. And so I was watching Love and Monsters, and I was like, why is the doctor not here? I don't care about this dude. Why is he so weird and, strange? And the storyline is dumb, and then it got really gross. And so I was just like, why? And then Blink started, and I was like, oh, so where's the doctor? You know what I mean? It got, maybe a good part of the way through, and I was like, the doctor's not here? So it just kind of, maybe a little bit more.
It's really funny because I always tell people when they're oh, I'm thinking about maybe watching Doctor Who, and I say start with Blink because it's a good synopsis of what it can do at its best. And it's Dr. Light.
One of my favorites, but I don't tend to like Dr. Light episodes.
Yeah.
Because I think that kind of the point of Doctor Who is the doctor and his their charisma and just goofiness and all that kind of stuff. And so with Blink, we still got that with the videos, which is, so then it ended up being fine. But just at the beginning, I was especially because because my first time around, I was binging it. So I'd only seen Love and Monsters maybe 2 days before. So I was traumatized. And I was still reeling from Love and Monsters.
And the next one on your list, Fear Her, is right after. So it's
it's the next episode.
Actually, should we just talk about season 2 being?
Let's just talk
90%. That way we can summarize.
Yeah. Just so you guys know, and we're not doing synopses, right? So you
Correct.
have seen these all already. Season 2 starts with New Earth.
Watch.
Tooth and Claw,
Watch.
Which is...
I like Tooth and Claw.
I like Tooth and Claw.
I think it's okay.
I mean, I think that, so New Earth, I think New Earth is cool. You know what I mean? I think, so, yeah. I don't know. I think that, most of season 2 is like.
Wait. Let's go. It's the arc of season 2. So
no, but that's what I'm saying is that. But what I'm saying like generally though is that there are most of them are just like meh, and then there are a couple that are just brilliant, and then a couple that are terrible. And I think that like
here we go. So it goes from Tooth and Claw to School Reunion, which is good. I like.
Skip.
To Girl in the Fireplace, which is brilliant.
It's amazing.
And then we go. So they go brilliant at episode 4, and then we go Rise of the Cyberman,
Skip.
The Age of Steel.
Skip.
Those two. Those aren't terrible.
They're mad.
A lot.
Yeah, they're mad. But like, I watch Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel. Like, I don't skip those. They're not the best, but I watch them.
But it's about the arc here.
Yeah.
So Age of Steel, The Idiot's Lantern,
Skip.
The Impossible Planet,
Skip.
the Satan Pit, which I am like, skip. Love and Monsters,
skip.
Fear Her,
skip.
Like that, like right there, like
it's a really dull, like sophomore slump.
That is a month, though. That is, if you're watching this week by week, that is a month of terribleness.
That's the sophomore slump, which is crazy to think about because this is obviously Tennant's first season, and like Tennant is, beloved.
I mean,
and it's like it's not his fault.
Really weird, right? It's one of the other things that's really weird about season 2.
It's like you fall in love with 10, but the episodes are so bad.
Is my doctor. Like, I love David Tennant. Like, as 10, I also just love David Tennant. But like it's weird that like as you watch season 2, at least for me, as I watch season 2, like these episodes were horrible. But he was like great. So it was like it's a weird thing where you're like, this is a terrible episode. But if I am going to watch it, David Tennant, which is another reason I can't do Love and Monsters. David Tennant's not really in it. So what's the point? There is no point. So yeah.
Then, so then there's Fear Her, and then there's Army of Ghosts, and then Doomsday.
I mean, I think, the last two are not great, like the finale or whatever. I think that it had like the emotional part that kind of worked for it, so it made it like a little bit better, but it was super extra. Also, the like smack talk between the Daleks and the Cybermen was hilarious and super unnecessary, but hilarious.
I am not here for Army of Ghosts. I'm not here for I feel about Jackie and Army of Ghosts the way that the Doctor feels about Jackie always. I'm just like, girl, if you don't shut up. It's Granddad. No, the fuck it ain't. No, it ain't.
Damn Cyberman. Like, you don't even look
They don't even look like ghosts.
They don't look like you. They don't look like, it looks like a robot.
It looks like a robot that you should just be like, Danger Will Robinson. Stay away. Yeah. And if that's what ghosts look like, I would have been like, you know what, I'm good. Don't need them.
I mean, and so I think that like, season 2 was rough. And I think part of the reason too is like, there are other seasons that have like really bad episodes in them, but it's not back to back. You know what I mean? So we get at least like, even ups and downs are great because at least you have some kind of like, some kind of like emotional, like, oh, this is awesome. And then you're like, all right, I can believe that. Whereas like, like Robin was talking about the arc, it like starts off like, at a good point, goes up really high, and then just like starts. So there's like a drop. Basically.
I think it plummets. And I also think the thing is that if you're watching them back to back, like even the ones that are kind of meh start to just wear on you. Yeah. Because they're like by
5
comparison
episodes in a row that are horrible, right?
Horrible.
Like in a row though. Which is the like.
And that's where I'm saying, like, if you're watching that real time, you're watching a month of Doctor Who. That is terrible. And the fact that they were able to bounce back from that is amazing. The fact that there's a season 3 is because it's only because of Classic Who and all those people that were nostalgic AF. Because if that was a new show from Slate, nah, like you lost me.
Yeah, that sophomore slump is deep. Like, very few shows have a sophomore slump as bad as Doctor Who, now that I think about it.
It was pretty rough.
Except for the fact that Tennant is amazing. Like, that's a really, really
He
elevated.
saved it, right?
He saved it. Mm-hmm.
He saved season 2.
Because he, like, was so you're like, all right, I'm cool with him. I don't know what else. All that shit happening to him. I don't know. That's weird.
And that's also the interesting part about it is that you have to, everybody who watches Doctor Who, like, watch 9, and 9 is great. Like, 9 doesn't get as much love as all the other doctors,
He should.
but he's still good at being the doctor, and so you get used to him for those 13 episodes, and then it's like, there's a new guy? What do you mean there's a new guy? Especially if you're not a person who watched classic Who like me. So I'm just like, what do you mean there's a new person who plays this character? And like, I understood that as a concept, but was like, well, what if I don't like him? And so then you watch season 2 and you're like, okay, yeah, Tennant's great. And then it's like 5 episodes in a row of terribleness, and it's like, if he wasn't as good as he is, because he literally had to win you over. It's not like he was season 1 and season 2 had 5 bad episodes in a row. It was like he also had to introduce himself to you.
Yeah.
and
like,
win you over
make
as
you
a doctor.
like him.
This is the thing about, like, this is the thing about the Doctor in general that I find, like, so amazing. And I got this because of actually the transition to Matt Smith, was because David Tennant won you over, when I was first watching it, I was like, okay, that's just because he's David Tennant and he's so great. Because and the fact that Matt Smith is my doctor, I always tell people it's hilarious, because he came and I was like, nah, no. Like, they're trying to do a cute, floppy hair, like, and he is like, they cast him for me. And I was just like, no, I see what you're doing. I'm not about to be manipulated like this. Like, you're not going to just give me a younger Tennant and think it's going to be okay. Like, no. Like, no. And by the second episode, too, like, Matt has won you over as the doctor. And again, you're still trying to get to know him and stuff like that. And some of those episodes are also questionable. It's not nearly as bad as season 2 of, like, what Tennant had to go through.
No,
not nearly. There's nothing comparable. But it's amazing, like, the work that those actors have to do because of the writing. Like, and I think it's also great, like, as much as the Doctor changes, like, actor to actor, there's something about, like, the personality of the Doctor that is very charming and, like, winnable. And so even though I don't know what those writers are doing plot-wise in these episodes, they understand the voice of the Doctor in a way that, like, his section. Like, I was thinking about this because this is a completely different fandom, but I was finally finishing The Defenders, and I was like, it's like they brought in a different writer to write Danny. It's like there were like conversations between the 4 of them, and I'm like, yep, shut up. Like, writer. Like, how does he make someone so, you know, like, how is he written so badly while the other characters are written really well? And I think that's something that happens in season 2 a lot. Like, everything else is written terribly, yet the Doctor is written really well, because he is he at that point is such a fleshed out, and, like, they really they understand what he's supposed to be.
Yeah. I
would also say, not in defense of Love and Monsters, but as an explanation, the whole thing is a gimmick. Like, it was like they did this whole, like, big contest, and someone could create a monster, and when you have a monster created by a 7-year-old, or however old that kid was, like,
I don't know, man, because some of the stuff that happened in there, that 7-year-old couldn't watch that episode.
Right. I mean, the last ending, like, the whole thing ends up being a big blowjob joke. And I'm like, the last part of it, they leave you on a blowjob joke. And I'm like, the 7-year-old didn't have that in his mind.
No, that wasn't the 7-year-old's fault.
I don't remember that, because I've only seen it once.
It's when Homegirl is the slab, and he's like, we still have a love life. What else the fuck is she gonna do? Like,
he effing a slab. He's having sex with a concrete slab.
So we should somehow move on.
That's really disgusting.
That's only
let's move on. Yeah, and we kind of covered Fear Her, which was next on my list, which is, like, I don't know. I ended up being able to, like, watch it again. I feel like Love and Monsters is just, like, unwatchable. A little bit different than, like, oh, I'm just going to skip it because I don't feel like, you know what I mean? Like, Love and Monsters is, like, just not, you just can't do it after one time.
The whole level of terrible.
But, like, Fear Her is just kind of, I don't know. It was just, like, this is not good. And the ending was really cheesy. And just, like, I don't know. There's no reason for it, I feel like.
I also have a problem with the casting because it is like this little like darker skinned black girl who's alone and doesn't have friends, and I don't know, like there is some tone deafness in who they cast to play that character, and the plot of like she's possessed, and it just does it doesn't fit well, and like she's not only is she possessed or whatever, but then like she's the one taking all of these like little white, like happy smiling like good kids, and then there's this like dark skinned little girl who is basically the villain, and the optics of that are terrible, which goes back into like who's in the room, because if one of us was in the room, we'd be like, "Excuse me, what?"
Like, this seems like a good idea.
Yeah,
and even that's not a room problem. That's a production problem, because they probably didn't even cast her. They probably didn't even write her as black. She was
didn't.
Color blind, quote unquote. And then they opened it up, and it's just interesting when they open it up and when they don't. But let's continue.
I bet you didn't think no one would have ever guessed that I would ever put this on my skip list. Just y'all have known me for this is 13th episode. You would never know that I would put Sleep No More.
When literally before, so we put our skip list together separately. And it was like, if we have overlaps, we'll deal with it when we're recording. And I was putting mine together, and I got to Sleep No More, and I was like, Bayana got it.
I think this might be 13 episodes in a row that you've mentioned that you don't like Sleep No More. There might be one singular episode that you didn't mention it. Might be one singular one. Hard to say.
My problem with Sleep No More is I don't know. I have a couple problems with it. So one, season 9 is actually, I think, my favorite season, it's like very close. Like season 9 and season 4.
You didn't see it because it's a podcast, but Robin clutched her pearls.
Well, season 9 and season 4, I also didn't see it because I'm on a different thing. But cool, thanks for narrating after me. Season 1 and season 4, I think, are really close for me. I think that season 9, especially after season 8, did really well at like just kind of giving us a better 12th Doctor. And I also liked the way that the narrative that they chose by like making like every kind of story arc was like multiple episodes, and I think that they did that really well. Sleep No More is one of those episodes that was a one-off, and it was super boring. It was really boring to the point where like I was actually dozing off the first time I watched it, and then when I was rewatching it while my sister was catching up, I was like, oh, maybe it wasn't that bad. Because, like, you know, I was tired. I had been working all day, so maybe it wasn't that bad. And, like, now I've been rested. It's the middle of the day. We'll try again. And, no, it was still just as boring. I think that Moffat tried really hard to, like, create a new monster that was, like, a weeping angel, but failed hard at it. And also thought that he was doing something that he wasn't. Like, it was just it was really like it felt like the narrative felt like it was so smart, like it was doing so much and like being so clever. And it was no, this is just really boring, and you've rehashed this, like you beat this horse so dead, like we already know, so maybe just not do this time.
I like just have a picture. I have a mental picture of Moffat writing this episode. Like, yup. Like, I got this.
Yeah, like he was hyping himself up. He was playing some DMX in the background. Like he was like in there, just like he was ready. He thought he was like making that one, and he was not. And it was just like it failed so
I feel
hard.
like
and especially after like how great the rest of the season was, and this is one of the last episodes of the season, so it's just been so great, and you're like so excited to watch, and then so that's why I thought I was tripping, because I was like, well, all the other episodes I've loved, and not so much this one. What's going on here? And so, yeah, it's not a good episode.
I think,
and it was,
if you guys I'm picturing him writing the episode with apparently DMX in the background, hyping himself up, and then he finished the episode, and he's like, wait, one more season, and that's all I got. like, oh, yeah, this is the last one. Yeah, let me just do one more. And then I quit. That's probably what happened.
Ugh, it was awful. And that's all I feel about it. I don't like it.
It is boring in a way that is like...
It's offensive.
Yeah. Like, there's, like, certain things that are... Like, I am the queen of watching boring television that I find comforting. You know? I'm like, well, it's... Like, nothing really happens, but that's the point. And I feel, like, comforted by it. And this one is like, why am I wasting my time? I could literally be doing anything else right now.
I could be sleeping, for example. Maybe. That's actually on some levels that I wasn't thinking of.
But Ayana's like, sleep much more. Like, not watching.
Like, literally watching that episode, I was like, I just want to sleep. Like, I don't actually want to be watching this episode. I just want to sleep. Okay, and then my next one is Rings of Akhenaten, which I, like, barely remember. I remember before I saw it, Robin was like, ugh, I don't like this episode. And I was like determined not to let that like color my like watching of it, you know what I mean? But as I was watching it, I was just like, I don't understand the point. And there was like that whole, I barely remember it, but I know there was like that whole like mythology. They did a lot to try to make Clara interesting, and they did a lot of like weird like mythology. Well, I mean, and I don't even hate Clara, to be honest, but I just think that like they they didn't know who she was, so they were trying to come up with all these different things to like tell us who she was, but they still didn't know. And so this one is like this whole thing about this leaf, and like that's how her parents met and blah blah blah, but like it didn't really
and then they erased all of that.
Yeah, and then they erased it all, and it didn't happen.
I have a thing about Clara, like, I kind of disagree with you there. Like, I feel like they did a really good job of setting up who she was as the impossible girl, and then once they, uncovered that or whatever, and she, like, went through his time stream, they were like, okay, well, that was, like, 18 different whatever, but I'm like, the person she was before she went through the time stream should still be who she is.
Right.
Like... Right. Why are you changing her so dramatically? Like, that makes no sense. And so that was also the thing about Clara that bothered me, because I was like, you set up who she was, and then you just erased it all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I also think, so, like, when I say I don't hate Clara, I mean that to me. I mean that in that, like, I don't like Rose. And she gets on my and it's not just, and it's like, and I don't even hate Billie Piper. It's just, like, the writing of her the whole, it's just like all of it as Rose is oh no for me, right? But like with Clara, for me, it's like I get like glimpses of like, oh, I would actually really like her. Her fashion sense is on point. She's actually really smart, like all these things. But then the writing of her was terrible. So I was like, whereas like I don't like Rose as a character, and I think that she's consistent and like well written and whatever. I just don't like her. With Clara, it was just inconsistent writing. They don't know what to like. It just was more about what the writers were doing to her versus like her.
Right. There was like nothing that Billie Piper could do to save Rose for me.
I like Rose because of Billie Piper, and I choose Rose over Clara. Right. But I understand, like, I was perfectly fine with Rose until they wrote new companions in it. I'm just like, oh, she ain't my favorite.
Same, exactly. I was like, oh, Rose is cool. And then I got to know other people, and I was like, oh, they're better. And then I went back to Rose, and I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I know better now. I'm going to do better.
I've seen better. I can do better. Rose is literally like Moffat's Sleep No More. Like, they were like, Russell T. Davies was in the room like, yup, got her. Like, ain't nobody better than Rose. And then it was like, oh, wait.
But I don't think he got to that point of nobody better than Rose until he was on his way out. Until, like, season 4 when they kept bringing her back. Where it's just like, okay, I get it.
No, he never got to nobody's better than Rose. Like,
he never did.
That was his whole thing, which is one of the other things that irritates me about.
He was so in love with Rose that he had to keep bringing her back. And I was like, but Donna is doing the damn thing.
Right. And Martha Jones is...
And Martha is lit AF.
Right.
So...
And that his love of Rose really hurt Martha. Because, like, it showed it... That's not... Yeah,
that's another conversation for another time.
Anyway.
He will continue that in that direction. So the next one is Planet of the Dead, which is, like, one of the season 2 specials. Or no, season 4 specials.
Yeah.
Yeah, like after Donna left, and then 10 was like just running around being a hot mess. And I don't know, this episode I didn't really care for. It was just like he would meet up with like random people, and this one he met up with a cat burglar, and they ended up on some other like desert planet. It was weird. It did give a really great quote from him when they get back, and he's like, "I'm gonna go arrest myself in this police box." Like, that was great. Also, Noma Dumaswani is in that episode, which is cool, but she's in other episodes, so we don't have to go back and watch this one to support.
Yeah.
So yeah, The Girl Who Waited.
I have a bone to pick with you, but let's go ahead.
Okay, so this is the season 6, and it's the episode where Amy gets split up from Rory and the doctor, and then there's like a whole time stream thing. I don't like it because I feel like, in the same way that Russell T Davies had this whole thing about Rose and there's no one better, Moffat was like beating the theme of Amy being the girl who waited like into the dirt. And by the time we get to the end of season 6 and she's waiting again, I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm sorry. Like, y'all gotta stop doing, like, it just felt like a trope that he created once and then just like was like, I'm gonna hold on to this, and now we're gonna do what if, like, I just imagined him in the writer's room talking about, okay, what if we had Amy wait again? Like, no, I don't. No, we did that already. We did that. So I think that there are parts of it that are cool. I think that generally it's well written, but just as an overall theme, I just don't care, and I was over it by the time I got to this episode.
I watch this episode every time. It is on my must-watch list.
No. Must watch. I can agree with you about the beating of the dead horse.
Correct.
About The Girl Who Waited, but I don't think The Girl Who Waited is that point in the season. I also think that as a standalone episode, it is amazing, and like the emotional, like you. I think this episode really solidified my love of Rory in a way, because you get to see his like goodness and compassion and like the depths of that. It shows in a way that like I never got with Rose, and like why Rose was that one. I think it really did show like why Amy was that one, and like why she, like, they were her boys as opposed to like the other way around. It shows like her strength and her like determination and her like vulnerability in a way too, because there are points where she is really like struggling when she's waiting to like maintain that strength, and she's doubting herself, but like I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I
get your point about The Girl Who Waited. I feel like you're just mad at the title of the episode.
No, I'm not. The whole thing is she waited for 40 years. We already did that. And I think that the other thing, right, is that, like, the doctor has apologized for leaving her waiting for the 19 years that he did, or however many. That might have been 19, like 10 years or whatever.
12 or something.
12, yeah. Like, has apologized for that. That has come up a bunch of times, like as a theme, especially with the relationship between the doctor and Amy. And it's not just the title; it's the whole thing. Doctor, you left me waiting again. Like all the like little things, right? Where it's the big deal. That's the entire point of the entire episode. And like, while I understand what you're saying, like I do think that we get those things in other episodes, and I do think that like I just think there are other ways that it. I don't know. I don't like that episode. One of the other things, which is like kind of related. So you remember in season 8 when Missy was like in episode 1, when Missy is revealed and she's like sitting in that courtyard and everyone was like, is she in the same place that Amy was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I'm really upset that
I don't know who everyone was, but yeah.
Well, I mean, like on Twitter and stuff, and like and I mean, it was very like they were in the same courtyard, and I'm kind of upset that didn't become like a connection, that they didn't like take that through, because if you do look at pictures side to side of like Amy when she first gets to the spot and like walks outside, it's the same like pillars and like fountain and like all the stuff. So like I don't know, that's just a little thing. It doesn't have to do with my not liking.
Or I think sometimes, I don't know if it's lazy production, I do think sometimes they do callbacks like that, and they're not supposed to be anything but like a montage, like a
homage or a
homage to like something, because there are. The problem was it was so obvious, that it was like this must come up again, because.
Right. And I think if it had been like a smaller thing, it would have been. But because it was like, no, you're literally in the same setting.
Yeah, if they
are we not going to talk about Amy then? Or?
Yeah, if it hadn't been exactly the same, it would be a nice homage. But instead, it's just I I can't think of what the word is right now, but it's like teasing the audience with no reason to do
payoff.
it. Yeah, and it's just like that kind of thing can get annoying because it's just like you're just making a red herring of a tease that just never comes to fruition, and that's by that point it was sort of like, okay, this is season 8. Let's not do this no more.
Season 8,
right?
Episode like the premiere of season 8 is amazing, but the second episode of season 8 is not. And so the next on my list is Into the Dalek. Also, I will say the first episode of season 8 is one of the episodes that made me really fuck with Clara, and then they fucked that up. But yeah, so Into the Dalek, I don't know. I think it was just like meh, and I just don't have any desire to go back to it. It wasn't terrible. I just didn't care, and I also think that it's like the first episode, like episode 1 of season 8 was, you know, still like introducing us to Peter Capaldi as the 12th Doctor, and like about Clara's trying to like come to terms with the fact that like the person who she thought she knew isn't that person anymore, and all that kind of stuff. So that was fine. Then we get to Into the Dalek, and we get into like Moffat trying so hard to make 12 the opposite of 11, and so like him acting like he doesn't care about things, or like he's just running around blowing people up and like all that kind of stuff. It just like felt like he was pulling him too far away from who the Doctor is, just generally in season 8. And then this episode was just kind of like, it was whatever.
I literally didn't remember anything about this episode, and so I had to go on Wikipedia when I saw it was on your list, and I was like, if that's not a reason for something to be on a skip list, like, I don't know that it's like it never happened. And I've rewatched that season, and I'm still like, I don't remember this episode. But then I do remember, like, I remember the parts of Danny and, like, as a whole of the season, you know, but I couldn't tell you, like, oh, yeah, that happened in Into the Dalek. You know what I mean? Like, It just was like, nope. So I agree with you, because like there's my brain is like, what was that? I don't know her. Into the Dalek, I don't know her. I never met her.
Yeah.
Ain't never seen her.
And then the last two on my list were just season 2, which we've talked about. But the Idiot's Lantern was dumb, and the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit was like, they were doing too much. It was another one of those,
too many things were happening.
It was just too many things happening. They like really fucked up the Ood storyline, and it was, again, like Russell T Davies was listening to DMX. They got to turn DMX off in the writer's room, and maybe they'll be okay. He really thought that he was doing something.
He was gassed up.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yes. Most of my list was season 2, or my list.
I was literally like, Connie, so season 2?
Season 2. And then in general, I have to skip 8 and 9 because I skim watched them. I like quit Doctor Who after Matt left. It was just like, I'll catch up before Bill arrives, and I sort of did that, but I don't have enough of a memory of what happens in those seasons. Or season 7. I mean, 7 is fuzzy, but I've seen it kind of twice. But after Matt left, I have no idea what happened. But, so some of the episodes on my list are, I love the planet name, Raxacoricophalopatorius. I love that. But I cannot stand the episodes where those aliens exist. Aliens of London,
can I just tell
World
you?
War III are just, I can't. I skip a lot of season 1 anyway. I skip most of season 1 and 2 in my rewatches. That's just how it is. But if I had to choose a season 1 episode that I really skip literally every single time, it is those disgusting booger-looking aliens.
Can I just tell you this? And this is also on my list. I do love Boomtown, which is like bringing back up the family Slovene. Those episodes introduce us to Harriet Jones.
Sure.
They give you Raxacoricophalopatorius, which is amazing. Raxacoricophalopatorius.
There you go.
I'm like Rose in that way. There are some really good moments, but I have 2 things about Doctor Who that I will, like, fight me. If there is a pig Like, if there is a pig, I'm out. Skip it. I don't, and it's not like, and it isn't like, oh, there's a pig, skip it. It happens. It's on my, there's another one on my list where they become pig humans, like piggy aliens. And it's literally like Doctor Who it's now like shorthand, right? Like you were saying, like, oh, Matt wears the red bow tie when they're in the future and the blue bow tie in the past. They put a pig something in there and it's a bad episode. Like, it's just, it exists in the Doctor Who world. If there's another sci-fi thing with a pig, I'll give it a shot. But if Doctor Who pulls out a pig, I'm out. Skip it. Go do something else with your life.
Yeah, and I think, like, for me, it's hilarious. It's so, like, and it's really, thank God for the Day of the Doctor, because that's the first episode of Doctor Who I ever saw. And then after that, I went to season 1. If I hadn't seen the Day of the Doctor before I saw season 1, I would have stopped at Aliens of London in World War III. Because I was like,
it was hard to continue past that. Yeah.
I was like, I get that this is, okay, sure, this is like an older, like, television show. Like, when it started, it's like, it's been like a while since this came out, whatever. But fart jokes are not funny. Ever. And so
well,
I was
also
like,
think
what?
so, like, Classic Who was like a Saturday afternoon, like, more for kids show, and then when they brought it back, it became like a Saturday evening, like, still family oriented. They're not going to do like too much, but they did try to make it darker, and they like went with Christopher Eccleston for a reason.
Yeah.
And so there are like it was like, oh, well, you know, like, Doctor Who historically has been for kids, but like, no, fart jokes and gas jokes.
It's not funny. Yeah. And, like, I think, so the reason it wasn't on mine, though, is because when I was rewatching earlier this year, I actually did watch it again. Mm-hmm. And without the fart jokes, it's actually real, like, the episodes are really good, actually. Like, I think. And so it was funny because I was like, the first time I watched it, like, the fart jokes just blanketed everything. And I was just like, no, this is awful. But when I rewatched it, I was like, okay, it does have some, like, good parts in it.
And it's on my list literally because it could be without the fart jokes, but the fart jokes just color everything. I'm just like,
so I totally get why it's on Connie's skip list and on yours. Like, it would have been on mine if I hadn't just recently seen it.
Like I said, most of mine are season 2. Also, if it's a Dalek or Cyberman episode, I'm likely to skip it, but I'm so bored during Victory of the Daleks in season 5. Like, season 5 is my favorite season, and if I have to skip one, like, I can watch most of those episodes. That's the season I have the most episodes where I'm like, I will watch them every time, but I will skip Victory of the Daleks. I just don't care about war. I don't care about Daleks. Why are they different colors?
Jamie Dodger.
That's the one good.
That is actually part. I started making Jammy Dodgers for like holidays because of Victory of the Daleks.
But like everything else in that episode, I'm just like.
But that was also one of those, like, definitely, like, made for, oh, we're about to get y'all to buy all new Dalek stuff.
Right,
like,
yes.
New toys are coming out, and it just was like...
The colorful Daleks are the sonic sunglasses.
Right. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, they're bigger and they have color. It's still a plunger and a trash compactor. Yeah. Like, that is what a Dalek is. It's fine. They're a product of their time.
They tried.
Stop it. But they were... Like,
yeah, I like that episode. I think that, like, I agree with everything you're saying, though. Like, it's not one of my favorites either, by far. But I do like that it kind of sets up the crack in time situation and, like, the fact that Amy's memory has been wiped. Because, remember the reality bomb? And, like, all that shit went down, and Amy saw the Daleks and were like, who are these? Never seen them before in my whole life. So that part, I think, is interesting.
Sure.
But yeah, no, but I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, and I do tend to like Dalek episodes better than Cyberman episodes, but there are few and far between, like you were saying.
I don't watch the specials from season 4. I don't watch any.
Neither do I.
I skip them all together.
That I watch.
Yeah, I don't know, there's just something about the Doctor roaming around by himself and all sad and depressed and getting into, like, really tetchy situations where it's like the whole point is that he doesn't have a companion, so that's why he's getting into these kinds of situations. But, like, they're just exhausting.
It's season 5 Harry. Emo Doctor is emo. Like, that is, like, that's what the specials are for me. Season 5 Harry, for
Book
those
5.
who don't listen to Wizard Team, is Harry Potter. Season 5. Book 5. Sorry.
5, yeah. But I think that, like,
HBO series
yes.
of Harry Potter, yes, it'll be season 5, but not yet.
And, like, as y'all who listen to Wizard Team know, I love Book 5 Potter. Actually, I don't remember which season I was in for Doctor Who. It was either 2, 3, or 4. It was a David Tennant season. And I texted Robin because I was, like, live texting her about it. And I was like, he's Order of the Phoenix Harry. That's why I love him so much. So, and I think she rolled her eyes. But
I did.
Yeah. But I think, like, with the specials, I like Waters of Mars because I like the story, and, like, also because I like the Doctor. But the other ones, in terms of the storyline, it's just, like, corny and, like, dumb. So that's why I skipped the other ones. It's not so much to do with the Doctor.
The Doctor is emo.
As it's, like, the story. Yeah.
I don't get down with Time Lord Victorious. I just don't get down with Time Lord Victorious.
The laws of time are mine, and they will obey me.
No.
And his hair ruffled.
Goodbye, Tennant. Okay, wait. Where is my list? Because I've remembered one. So I put Curse of the Black Spot because I don't know. It's just like wacky pirate shenanigans. But I would rather watch that, I realize, than the doppelganger episodes. Like, I get that that thing comes back, and, like, that, I don't know, I don't think they handled the gangers as well as they wanted to, and, like, I don't like the ganger 2-parter in season 6, and then I would have, like, I don't know, the season 6 really frustrates me because season 5 was so great, and they're trying to, like, follow up on that and, like, keep some of the same elements, and, like, the prophecies that are mentioned in season 5 are trying to fall out in season 6, but, like, I think it goes too fast, and, like, the ganger thing bothers me because all of a sudden Amy's been a ganger this whole time. So, like, and it's fine in the episode where it's revealed, even though I feel like it is rushed and too fast and, like, an annoying, like, kind of out of nowhere reveal, but I think the episodes with the gangers is just really dark, and it's kind of gross, and it's kind of just like a slow burning episode of, like, all right, we're in this weird place, and then everybody's fake, and they splash to when they die, or I don't know. I actually would rather watch Curse of the Black Spot than the Ganger 2-parter, I realized as I was looking at my list.
Clutches her pearls.
I only watch the Ganger episodes because I love episodes when there's more than one Doctor, be that, like, a copy of the Doctor that's there, like 2 Matt Smiths or whatever, or 2 David Tennants, or a Matt Smith and a David Tennant. Whatever, any kind of combination of more than one Doctor, I'm about it. So that's why I like it.
I like the Ganger episodes. I almost put Curse of the Black Spot, so since you are going to take it off, I will add it back on because of that. I do get what you're saying about how it feels, the Ganger episodes, they feel rushed. They feel like they're doing a lot. I think that is a curse of Doctor Who in a lot of ways.
Curse of Moffat.
When they have those.
Yeah, it's Moffat. He's trying to be too clever. He needs to chill out a little bit.
It's Moffat.
A little bit.
Yeah. But I think, like, it's more about how he's building upon building upon building and all these things, and then it just doesn't, the payoff isn't as good as he thinks it is or something.
He gets confused. Like, and then we get confused. And then he's like, well, whatever.
It's like, if you don't get a timeline, if you don't have a board, like connecting all the strings or something, like,
he needed a diagram, he needed his walls covered in Post-it notes, and
that's something that, like, made me stop watching the show, is that Moffat was trying to be so clever, and then all the fans, and I had to, like, it's sort of also why I'm not on Tumblr anymore, it's like all the fans are trying to break down and understand what his cleverness is, and then it's either something stupid or it's silly or it's really straightforward, and so the anticipation and the buildup of, like, oh man, this reveal's gonna be so good, and then it's not, was just, like, exhausting as a fan of the show, and so it's kind of why, like, it helped me to quit the show for as long as I did, because I was just like, okay, but I saw a theory on Tumblr that was like, if that was the reveal, I would have been in it. And I was just like, oh snap, like, there are people on Tumblr writing better episodes, or like at least better follow throughs of what Moffat cleverly, and like he introduces really great stuff and then it just falls apart, and I'm like, okay, but so-and-so 369 over on Tumblr was like, if you did this, this, and this, it would have been so much better. And then character development and all this stuff. And I had to, like, step away from the deep intensity of the fandom and from the show for those reasons. And season 6 is the main place where that is heightened for me, because season 5 is so my favorite, and I think season 5 has so much, is so good at, like, following through with what it introduces, and then season 6 tries to build on what it introduced at the end of season 5, and then it falls apart, and I'm like, but you were so good last season.
Well, so, this is what I will also say about this, because I figured it out in a rewatch, is that season 6 is also when he starts Sherlock, and he cannot do both, because the Doctor becomes very Sherlocky, and Sherlock becomes very doctorish, and it's like,
his brain
actually that payoff belonged on that show, and that payoff belonged on this show, and maybe you needed, like I said, a wall, some diagrams, plot that out, get an assistant, like, help you out.
Showrunners need to keep it to one show, or need to have a strong person, like... And this is a very short
And Gaddis is on both shows, too. So it really... Like, the guy that he was leading on was also confused. Like, it was just...
Right, and, like, I don't know if either of you are in the Joss Whedon verse, but I can't remember. But the season where Joss is doing Angel, Buffy, and Firefly are the worst of all of those seasons. Like, Firefly is good, but, like, it partially didn't sustain itself because his brain is in 2 other places, and, like, it's the worst season of all three, like, both of those, like, 2 long runners, and then the show that took his brain energy didn't even survive. And then once he's back to just those 2 shows, and, like, both shows were on so long that they had, like, strong, like, executive producers in place, they get better, because you can't divest, like, your brain can't be in so many places at once. And I think that's where I feel like Shonda has this as well, where she's got 2 things going on at once. And when Scandal started and Grey's, like, she was doing both at the same time.
Grey's got real extra, huh?
Grey's got a little rough. And then I feel like she stepped away from both.
Times.
I have never watched Grey's, because
I think she stepped back from kind of both of them, and Grey's has a strong, like, executive producing team that's been there, and the show's been on for 14 years now. So, like, she has people who are in place who are able to get it back on track. But when you're the main showrunner trying to do too many things at once, it will show in your work, and Moffat is the prime example of that. And you're absolutely right about season 6 being where that begins. And that's why Sherlock don't appear except for once every 3 years, like Jupiter or something.
Well, and that's the thing, too, I was really big into the Sherlock fandom, and I haven't actually watched the last season.
Me neither.
Which is hilarious, because I was, like, really mad that there was going to be that gap, because I was like, Tumblr is going to ruin this for me, and then I just never. I was like, well.
I think it's a lot of us, honestly. The wait was too long. But anyway, we should move on.
But let's back to this. But I realized that, and I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah.
And your last one, Connie?
Yeah, and so then I quit for 3 years and watched the show again for season 10, because I have very little on 7, 8, and 9, because they're just all very fuzzy. But if I had to skip any episodes in season 10, it is definitely the weird trilogy that showed up, and Moffat, again, was trying to be clever, and then none of it made any sense. It barely connected. Like, the 3 episodes didn't even properly connect to each other, and were written by different people.
That whole thing with Bill's mom.
And then, they set up so much.
Still waiting on that payoff.
And it really, like... Especially because those 3 episodes came after 5 great episodes in a row, which, as we were talking about with the 5 terrible episodes in a row, it's like, it sets you on a path where it's just like, okay, you get used to that kind of content, and so you're like, okay, well, season 10 is going better than we expected. And then for them to crash so hard. And so I will likely never, I mean, it's hard to say I won't watch them again. I might watch them a second time because I need to watch season 10 a second time just as a whole to enjoy Bill. But those three, and maybe the last one, but that's for, I think, oh no, you don't have it on your list. But
I do.
Oh yeah, there it is. But they just, it's such a crash from the first 5, and so I don't think I can do it again because it's just so bad.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I do think
sense.
season 10, yeah. And we were talking about season 2, how it starts off like, it's like, it's giving us,
season
like, okay,
10 is the inverse
it's giving
of
us
that.
an arc, right? Like, it's giving you like, oh, okay, this is building, it's going to get better and better, and then it just plummets, whereas like, season 10 starts off so great, and then it like plummets, and then it's like, oh, okay, almost, and then no, we're just going to stay down in the garbage fire. That's where we're going to stay, because it's one of the
Yeah. Trash. Dumpster fire. So, obviously, season 2, we've gone through. I have 2 things about Doctor Who so Love and Monsters and Fear Her are top of my list, but I have 2 constants in Doctor Who that, like, one I've already talked about is the pigs. Like, if there's a pig, I'm not in it. This other one, and it kind of starts with this episode season 3, episode 7, 42.
I skipped that
If there is the devil, some kind of the devil.
Well, this is the second time then. This isn't.
Oh, okay.
Season 2 is the first time is the one with the devil.
Right.
Yes.
But then we go back to it, and so this is when it became a rule for me. Oh, the planet is the devil, or the bad guy is the devil. I'm out. Skip it.
I don't think the planet was a devil, but it was still like it was evil, or like
it was like they were all like whatever it was.
That's exactly what I picture when I see 42 in my head. Just like some person, and I could be conflating episodes, but it's like some person and they're speaking with a weird double voice, and I'm like, there needs to be an exorcism.
We will burn them all.
I skip all of those.
They will all burn.
Same. I skip episodes like that. Same.
Yeah. Same. I mean, I feel like I liked 42, but I'd have to rewatch it to like.
There's a part of it which is Martha. Like, and this is the thing
I like Martha was on the phone with her mom.
Right. I was going to say, I was like, that's the part I was about to say. This is the thing about, like, all of these, not all of them, because Love and Monsters, just trash. No bright spots. Never go back. But a lot of these skip list, episodes, there are these, like, bright spots, and they shine through, and, like, when you're remembering the season. Like, this is how I feel about a lot of these episodes. Like, when I'm remembering the season, I'll remember those bright spots as, like, a whole of the season, but I'll forget, like, oh, it was in that episode, though? Like, ooh. And so I think, like, that is definitely, like, Martha's conversation with her mom and, like, her, like, star-crossed lovers thing with the guy that they're in the escape hatch, like, is a bright spot. But the episode is trash. And I don't need to like, suffer through that entire episode for that Martha bright spot, because there are episodes like Smith and Jones, which I think is, like, brilliant, where I get a whole Martha bright spot and the episode's good. You know what I mean? So, like, I just don't need to suffer through it. And yeah, they'll all burn. No. We talked about Aliens of London and World War III, which is just fart jokes on fart jokes. And then another season 3 pig episode, Daleks in Manhattan. It's a duo, Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks. There's pig men. So
I skipped those 2, yeah.
It's funny.
Andrew Garfield is doing his
I forgot he was in that.
old-timey New York accent, and good Lord.
It's not good, but he tried.
If I don't want to, like, the only thing that those episodes do is make me want to go back and watch the Newsies. Because his New York, like, what he did was he goes, oh, how did Christian Bale get away with his New York accent? I'll do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really funny because I remember the first time you told me you, like, would skip these episodes and don't like them. It's funny because I, like, still look back on them fondly. And I'm like, Like, because everything you're saying is true, but for some reason in my head, I'm like, but they were nice, or like I don't know why. I don't know where that comes from.
They're silly episodes, I think, and if you're able to like embrace the silly, you might be able to get through them. Like if you're able to like enjoy and like fall in love with how bad Andrew Garfield's accent is, like, and that becomes, you know what I mean? It's so bad it's good type of thing. It can work for you. But for me, it's just like there is just this pile on of bad accent, pigmen, Dalek men, feathering. Like, what are you, a jellyfish? Like, what is that Dalek human hybrid thing? Nobody wants it. Nobody asked for it. Nobody wants it. Like, the writing is bad. The makeup is bad. The special effects are bad. So I don't understand why we're here. Like, I just... No. And then, again, it also suffers from the whole Dalek thing, which is like, okay, the Daleks are back. They're going to lose, blah. Like, we've been here, done that.
And I think they tried to do something different with the Daleks in this episode. And it didn't necessarily, like, do what they really wanted it to do. But I think they were trying to, like, give some kind of complication to them, especially given that, like, these are the last living Daleks or whatever. And so, like, what does that mean for them? Yeah. So I think they tried.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
You get a participant sticker, I guess? I don't know. No, thank you. I'm not going back. And because I'm last in the row, like, a lot of things that would have been on my skip list we've already talked about. But Moffat gonna Moffat. And I just have, like, these are not just skip lists because they're not good episodes. They're skip lists because they, like, actively hurt me. Like, I feel, like, actively hurt by them, which are the final episodes of both 11 and 12. The Name of the Doctor, like, coming off of the Day of the Doctor, too, is just, like, rude. So rude in how terrible it was. And I remember because, I obviously, I come from a family of Muggles. This is a Christmas episode. I'm upstairs. Like, I have, like, been like, peace out, fam. It was nice knowing you, but...
It sucks when
like,
Christmas sucks.
This is a big, momentous occasion for me. It's the last time it's me and my doctor for the last time. Like, I'm going to go watch this and then take a sad nap. And to be disrespected on this level, to have Moffat come into my own house, put his feet on my couch, and stomp and say, fuck your feelings, is just unforgivable.
Yeah, I mean... I think I
didn't started off lit. Like the first 10 minutes.
I will also say, wow, not necessarily. We don't really know about 12 yet because he hasn't regenerated yet. But like, I don't really like Tennant's last episodes. They're not really good to me.
Correct.
They're not good.
Yeah.
And 11's last episode is not great. I mean, I
the only regeneration that I think they did well was 9.
9. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Wow.
And I think part of it too is like with 9, it was. Yeah, actually no. I'm gonna put a pin in that, and we can talk about that later. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and so I think like with the Name of the Doctor, I thought that it was like I didn't hate it, but also again, it's not my doctor, so I get why you would be like offended by it. Like that, it makes sense. I think also like again, he's trying so hard to tie everything back to seasons 5 and 6. And so there's the whole thing with the silence and the papal mainframe and all that stuff. And then there's like that one woman who may or may not be River, and it's not really clear.
I don't even remember because
she's like this white lady. And she has like a thing on her face, and like she's talking about stuff, and they're like talking and flirting a lot. And then there's a moment where he calls her a psychopath, which is like a thing that like.
She's like the Shadow Proclamation, though, I thought.
Yeah, no, that's not the Shadow Proclamation. She's in like the papal mainframe. The Shadow Proclamation is that was with the reality.
There's literally you've already said too much for this episode. Like I barely remember it, and I thought this was like I'm already confused because I thought it was Christmas.
Because that was like a moment that for me, at least her, where I was like, is this River? And I was like going back to, and I was like online trying to figure out like, is this River? Did she regenerate again? What's going on here? It's not clear because it felt like they had history, but no one explained what that history was.
Because they had an hour and they tried to do everything.
Yeah.
And did nothing.
Yeah, basically.
Wait. I'm already confused because I thought this was the Christmas one where it's like
It is.
no, that's Time of the Doctor. Name of the Doctor was
Oh yeah, you got the wrong one.
Oh.
Because that was also
And that was the other thing. Day of the Doctor, Name of the Doctor, Time of the Doctor. It was
Yeah,
all
There's a Night of the Doctor as well.
yes.
Night of the Doctor.
Equal
too
to the
many.
Day of the Doctor. So
It's
yeah, we're
too
talking about
many.
the Time of the Doctor. The Name of the
Yes.
Doctor was the one before Day of the Doctor.
Yeah. It was the
Okay,
season finale.
that one I liked.
It was the season
Yeah.
finale, the 50th anniversary special, and then Christmas where Matt leaves. And
Yes.
that's the one where it's like the Christmas land, right? Like he's just
Yeah.
like, living
A
forever.
town called Christmas.
He like actually
Yeah.
gets old and like all like literally.
Yes.
I'm thinking that is the main point of the episode, and y'all talking about the papal mainframe and the Shadow Proclamation. I didn't even remember that all of that happened in 42 minutes. That's too many
Right,
things.
no,
This was like
That's
a
too many
2-hour
things.
thing, right?
It was an hour and a half, I think.
Okay.
It was a
That's too
little bit
much.
longer.
Still too
But it
much.
literally is too much, and it starts off like, oh, because they do, like, they're introducing her and then this thing, and like, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you said about Moffat, right? Like, Connie, all that stuff you set up, and then the payoff is an old ass Matt Smith crumpled in a corner talking about when I was the doctor and the doctor was me.
At the end.
Right.
Like, we all know that's not Homegirl. We all know
Right.
that's not young Amy Pond. That's just some girl with a wig on. That's probably Stephen Moffat's daughter
Some chick.
with a red wig on, a red hair wig on.
She was
No.
like 18 by that point.
And then then they do this whole thing about him like aging, and then he becomes his old self again. And I'm like, well, then why did he age?
Right.
Like,
What was
just
the point?
stop.
What was
Like,
the point?
Stop it.
And then they also had to, like, in the midst of all that, they had to make a reason for him to regenerate again instead of just die.
Right.
Too
A
many
lot of,
things.
like, they had to retcon some shit. They just had a lot to do in that one episode. They probably could have spread out in season 7 and made
And
an
that's the
overall
other
arc.
thing
Whereas, like, season 7 was so disparate that they could have done that.
Yeah.
Instead
And that's
of-
the other thing I dislike about Doctor Who. So, like, okay, in some episode, they mentioned that Time Lords only have 12 regeneration. So, like, for 12 to happen, they need to retcon some shit, right? Or they don't, and they could just say, fuck it, that was an episode, and someone said something they didn't know nothing about. Like, you didn't have to retcon. Like, oh, here come the Time Lords and Gallifrey from something, and just breathe more regeneration into you. Bullshit. Like, no. Just like, we said that thing.
And it
Why?
made season 9, like the end of season 9, really confused. Like, it confused it as well, because it was like, okay, so now he's coming and they don't want him to be there and they're trying to kill him. What's going on now? Even
Right.
though I actually do really love the end of season 9, but because of this, like, because of the Christmas special, it just made things a little bit confusing.
And
They were just trying to
I
answer all the
do,
questions.
like, I appreciate when TV shows give, like some of the, like, are they, like, you know, pay attention to, like, the canon, and they realize that, like, the fans take the canon seriously.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's your show. So, like, if you want, and if it's successful, and okay, we're about to have a 12th Doctor, and you can't figure out a good way to retcon that, then just don't, and be like, deal. You'll
Especially
deal.
because they've done
There's
that before.
so many inconsistencies in Doctor Who.
Especially
that
because
one,
they've just chosen not to care for so many other things, including all the
Right.
things Moffat tries to be clever about. Like, you introduce one thing and then suddenly it's a different thing. Then they could have done the same thing with the
angels.
regenerations.
the silence change, all the monsters that like become a thing he brings back, and then they got to change somehow. It's like, just don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've gone through that. Such a terrible episode. I can't even remember which one it is. Got us all confused. And then finally, the last 2 episodes of 12, World Enough and Time, and The Doctor Falls. I have 2 things about this. Again, when they shoot Bill.
Trash.
And traumatizing.
Basura.
Traumatizing trash. Can't forgive you. Won't put myself through it again. Won't.
Nope.
Just
It's fair.
no. And then every loot, like, it's just the problem that Connie speaks on. Like, and that a lot of these episodes deal with, like all of the stuff that Moffat puts on top of each other that then somehow you have to like unravel in 45 minutes is just, it's not going to happen. And then I still don't understand to this day the point of Missy and the Master shooting each other and the Doctor never knowing that Missy chose good, because Missy's storyline does not matter outside of how the Doctor, like her relationship with the Doctor.
And that's just a fault. Like, that's just how writing works. Like, that's just how plot works for a TV show about a character. It should all revolve around the character. So when the character doesn't actually experience the thing that you set up that he cares about, it just doesn't, like, that fails on literally the most basic level of writing. Like, that's just literally the one thing. Your main character, your protagonist of your work, needs to be affected or affect and understand and be involved in everything that's happening. And you can't even say that the co-protagonist is affected by it, because Bill don't care. If you're going to count Missy as a protagonist, she dies.
She died.
So literally, there was no point in his big.
And also the weird flirting between the Masters.
Episodes trying to get through to Missy and never knows that he actually got through to Missy.
Yep.
Especially because he's about to regenerate.
They both dying on two separate parts of this damn spaceship.
Yep.
And so he literally, it's not even like he's going to find out later as 12. He's going to be a whole different doctor, a whole different gender, a whole different showrunner. It's not going to matter. And so the Master's going to come back at some point and probably going to be evil again. Like, what was the point? Unless the Master comes back as good. But then they so rarely connect the two, like, different showrunner periods. Like, I don't know if I see it coming back the way that...
And they also have done this with the Master a couple of times, where...
killed him off and been like, oh, suddenly he's back. How?
He's dead for real.
They kill him off in
they
a
always
very...
do he's dead for real this time. They did it twice.
They kill him off in a very, like, finalized way, and it's like, you know that you're not going to be on the show forever, and all you're doing is setting up that if another showrunner wants to use this character, they have to jump through hoops to make it understand, you know what I mean? And it's like, don't make something final, and like, don't do a final thing for the Daleks, don't do a final thing for the Cyberman, don't do a final thing for the Master, because you're not, the show's going to outlast you.
Right.
Historically, it has.
But also,
and
it's weird
rude.
Because they've done it. They've done it and then undid it themselves. Like, this is the last time, and then
twice.
Back.
He did it 2 times.
Like, what are you doing? I just don't do that.
Right.
And so that really, like, the handling of Bill in that episode obviously is trash to us, but like, you can go back and listen to the podcast where we talk about it.
Is still alive.
But like,
somehow.
she's still a Cyberman, and then we have to watch her like just not have feelings, and like no one else is seeing her as Bill. Like, they just see a weird, creepy Cyberman. That don't make no sense. And then her choosing to be a space mystery
pilot
with
the girl who she met one time.
One time.
Where is Penny?
Where the fuck is Penny?
These are questions.
Because her like chemistry with Penny was above and beyond what it was with Heather. And I'm not saying like Heather, like the pilot and the pilot, like, it was a good episode. It was a cool thing in its time.
Episode.
But it was
but it did not need to come back. Also, like, you made Danny... I do this with, again, because my 2 fandoms, with Doctor Who and J.K. Rowling. Like, you wrote that. So don't come back at me 10 years later acting like you didn't write that. Like, go read your stuff. Read what you did. Like, you already made Danny a Cyberman. Like, you just did that.
It was literally, like, a season ago.
So... can we not do that again?
Yeah.
Can we also just not shoot her in the chest?
Shoot her in the chest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the other thing about that is, like, I can't remember a scene as violent, like, and as, like, realistically violent.
Mm-hmm.
And like
And
permanent
anything in
consequences.
Doctor Who.
And permanent consequences, because the companions hardly ever have permanent consequences, except for Donna, and hers was mental and not physical.
And she's still
living.
too.
And like the way that they chose to make Bill live just meant that they literally had to go through their own hoops in 4 minutes in order to make it make sense, and it still don't make no sense, and I don't know how she coming back. Like, it just doesn't work on so many levels. And it's like,
and they're still on the damn ship. So how is he like? Or how is Jodie gonna regenerate? Get off the ship, go find the TARDIS? Because where's the TARDIS? Like
she got off. He got off.
No, he got off.
He got back
did?
to the TARDIS.
See, I don't even remember because I'm stuck on the shot Bill in the chest.
Yep.
Yes,
I'm stuck
he was
there.
like lying on the floor, and then Bill and the pilot and what's her Heather?
Oh yeah,
like
Bill makes the
TARDIS go elsewhere, and that's where he runs into one. But it just doesn't. There are just so many problems with it. Plus, that's what I meant by it just happened. So, like, season 8 ends with Danny being a Cyberman just like Bill. And then season 9 ends with Clara not actually dying and, like, running off with a girl who runs a TARDIS. Like, it's literally the same plot twice. You, like, in two different ways. Like, you literally just wrote that. Like, you literally just had a companion run off into space to be off running on space adventures. You literally just did that. Can we not do that again? Can you not come up with that? Oh, that's that's why you quit? Okay, gotcha.
Sorry, I didn't realize that I was out of ideas. But I'm out of ideas. So y'all can write this, and it'll be my last, and I'll show run, but it'll be my last go. But someone else write this because I am out of ideas.
And he wrote.
But no, he's the most clever
person. Her in the chest.
He's so clever, though, guys. That's why he didn't do that. So very clever.
If any listener can think of another episode in all of Doctor Who where something that realistically violent happens, please let me know. And then think to yourself,
but like something companion, I think, to be specific. I think crazy things have happened to other,
but not in a real world like crazy, but like violent things have happened.
Right.
But it's been like alien-y. You get shot with a laser. You know what I mean? Like,
it was like an energy thing. It wasn't a bullet. So, like, that's why I'm saying, like, we have to be specific about it maybe being companion. And obviously, for anyone who's not making the obvious connection, we are black. So, watching a black character get shot is traumatizing. But, like, I think that's why we have to be specific, because I'm sure there are white, like, off-brand, one-off characters who've been violated. I don't know what the word I want to use is. So we're extra, like, the optics of it are just ridiculous because there are no black writers in this writer's room to be like, maybe we shouldn't at this time, because, like, there are so many it's worldwide protests on why this keeps happening and shouldn't be happening. So I think that's why we have to be a little bit more specific, because I think realistic things have happened, but we're speaking of a very specific realistic thing that we are connecting to, and that's why we're so upset about it, rightfully so.
Yeah. What Connie said.
But it is, like, unnecessary and unnecessarily violent, and for them to have to break their rule about, like, companions not dying, they just didn't do it right, because it just doesn't make any sense, y'all.
And for all intents and purposes, she dies. She is no longer human.
Yeah.
She has become something else.
Well, she gets to choose. Apparently she gets to choose to go back to being human at any point she likes.
And then she fucking chooses Heather. No.
Be like, Heather, it was fun or whatever, but yeah, make me human again, and I'm gonna go find Penny and see what Penny doing.
And she
What's
might
Penny
do that.
Up to? What's she about?
And she might do that. Like, there's probably still time for her to make that choice, and that's probably why she shows up in the Christmas special, whatever. But it still don't make no sense for one random being to be able to change your molecules to be whatever you want. How? Like, that doesn't follow any internal logic we've seen on Doctor Who. Like, anything can happen on Doctor Who, but, like, that is a character with so much power that you need to, like, there needs to be more investigation on that. And for them to just be like, whatever, she goes into space and does whatever she wants, like, that doesn't make any sense for a character with that kind of power. You can change a human or any object to be whatever you want. You can be like me. You can be human again. How do you have that much power? So we had a lot of problems with the end of season 10, more than any other episode. It's also fresh.
And we even have whole episodes about the end of season 10 as well. And
we
then on
didn't
top
need
of
to
that, so.
repeat everything, especially if you're just listening to all of these in a row. But we appreciate it. So yeah, that's most of our skip list. I skipped a few that I think just didn't stick out enough in my like immediate memory, and even like.
And we're trying to be cognizant of time because
we went over.
I wrote a whole piece on blackgirlscreate.org about my skip list, and that was in the end of season 8, I believe. So, and obviously with season 9 and 10, there are more that could be added. So, yeah, let us know like your must skip episodes. You can use the hashtag TARBIS. TARBIS, time and relative blackness in space. Yeah, and thank you guys so much for listening.
Follow us on Twitter at We Black and Nerds, at Yana_Hollows, at Robin_Ravenclaw, at Constar24. Yeah, check us out at blackgirlscreate.org. Like Robin said, check out Connie's writing at the New York Daily News. Maybe next time we'll talk about our favorite episodes.
Yeah,
it can be more fun.
Maybe. We also have a Slack channel that is dedicated to all things Doctor Who, so you can request to join our Slack if you want to keep the conversation going, or hit us up on Twitter with all those handles.
Show us what you want to cosplay, how you want to cosplay 13, because I need to find a blue skirt and no suspenders. If you know where to find yellow suspenders that are like hers, hit me up with a link, because I am too lazy to look.
If you got an Etsy shop, hit us up.
Yeah.
Support small businesses. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Make it rain on you. I'm ready.
For reals. Get to crafting.
Right. All right. So thank you guys, and we will see you next time when we discuss something.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out, it might be Christmas, but who knows?
It might be Christmas.
Who knows? That's the point. That's why it's exciting. Timey-wimey.
Who knows?
The black girls have the box.